Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Society of New Haven. My name is Laura Fawcett. I'm a member of the worship committee, and I'll be your worship associate this morning. Whether you are here for the first time or have been attending for years, whether you're here in person or virtually on Zoom, you are most welcome. Thank you for taking time to be with us here today. On the cusp of tomorrow's annual remembrance and celebration of Indigenous people, let us acknowledge that we gather today on the ancestral land of the Quinnipiac and other Indigenous peoples. We commit ourselves to the action it takes to heal the wounds of the past and the present in the ongoing work of reconciliation, love, and justice. Unitarian Universalism holds that great good comes from wide diversity. So whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your heritage, and from wherever your beliefs spring, we are pleased that you are here. Now come and let us be together for a while. We welcome all ages to this space and know that there's a place in the back with activities and comfortable seating. The sounds of young people are appreciated as the voices of the future. And also, hearing devices are available at the back of the sanctuary. So speaking of human voices, why don't we take just a moment to greet someone who's sitting near you.
That's right here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. As we settle into this hour together, I have a few announcements to share. First, again, welcome newcomers, and after the service, please join the Connections team at the welcome table in the social hall, or, well, the order of service says weather permitting. There's also the option to take your beverage outside. I think the table will be indoors today. See, you may have noticed that the Turnpike Players are hard at work on the fall musical, Little Women. Yay! Tickets are now available online or in person. See Joni Messner or Amy Glick in the social hall for more information, or to become a patron of the arts and support this USNH production. A few other announcements. There will be an LGBTQ+ welcome after today's service in room 208 upstairs on the right. Join us for the social cinema this Friday, the 17th. The film is called No Other Land, and there's a potluck dinner at 6 and the film at 7. Dr. Susan Lagarde will join us for a presentation about the Fairhaven Health Clinic after next week's service, which Minister Emeritus Reverend Kathleen McTeague will be leading. Our friend will be here. And finally, there will be an announcement in the social hall after services giving details about our participation in next Saturday's No King's Day. And now let us take just a moment to quiet our phones and quiet ourselves as we settle together into worship.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan Dean. I'm your ministerial intern. My pronouns are he and they. Our call to worship today is titled For 5,000 Years or More by Matthew Johnson. For 5,000 years or more than 250 generations, human beings have been invoking spiritual power. My predecessors and yours have gathered together to make sense of their lives and their place in the cosmos. And they have spoken aloud and invited what they conceived as sacred and powerful to be with them. They called upon the spirits of air and earth, fire and water. They called the bear and the deer. They asked for the raven to protect them. They pleaded for heroes of old to slay the monsters and their fears. They sang songs and they learned from their grandparents and moved in the appointed ways or in new ways that were new but felt like the right thing to do. And they imputed power to these spirits and to the memories of those heroes. They called them gods, and they were invoked. Vishnu and Kali, Elohim, Odin, and 100 million others, every group of people, everywhere. They gathered to make sense of their lives and to make sense of their place in the cosmos, and they called these spirits to present to them. And so do we. So do we. We gather this morning to make sense of ourselves and the universe in which we live as best we are able. And we call ourselves to worship together, and we invoke the power and wonder of life itself, that to which all those spirits of animals and memories of heroes pointed the way. We invoke that power, which is, we know, always around, always with us, but which we sometimes forget about. We forget that we are part of the whole of creation. We forget that we are stardust. We forget that we are capable of miracles, first among them, that we can love. We forget these things. So we invoke the power of existence so that we can remember, so we can lift our eyes and open our ears to the true and beautiful. For 5,000 years or more, we have done this. In many tongues, in many ways, we have done this. And so we continue that ancient tradition in our way and in our time. And so let us now worship together. As we prepare to sing our first hymn, I call those who wish to, who have a joy or concern, to come forward and drop a shell or stone into the water so the congregation can surround your concern. And if you have a joy that you want to illuminate, you may light a candle. Our hymn this morning is number 21 in our gray hymnal, For the Beauty of the Earth.
I hope all of you at some point get to hear what that sounds like from up here. What a joyful, beautiful sound. My name is Jesse Greist, and I am the coordinator of congregational life here at the Unitarian Society of New Haven. My pronouns are he and him. It was it's coming up on 15 years ago that I left my position at the Cloud Forest School in Costa Rica. But I still remember the day that I arrived there, and in that first week of orientation, how I walked around the campus of that beautiful, beautiful school located in the Cloud Forest in Monteverde, Costa Rica. And I was walking around with one of the groundskeepers who was one of the most knowledgeable people I have known about species of animals and plants, trees. Over the years, he taught me so much. And I remember him saying, "Do you want to see something really cool?" And he walked up to this tree that was growing at the edge of the forest, and he knocked on it like he was knocking on a door. And instantly, a swarm of black ants came out of a hole in the tree and went up and down the entire trunk of this tree and all over the leaves at the top. And they patrolled and marched as if shouting to each other, "Danger!" I didn't hear Will Robinson, but I imagined it. And I asked him about this, and he said, yes, this tree is called a cecropia, or as the locals nearby would call it, a guarumo. And this tree is very, very unique because it grows almost like a palm tree, one trunk that goes way, way up into the sky, and then at the top of this tree, there's always a little circle of leaves coming out. Far fewer leaves than you would ever imagine a tree could need to survive. And he explained to me, this tree only directs its energy towards creating a crown of leaves up at the very top, because no one ever comes and eats those leaves. No insects, no birds, no other herbivores. And he said that's because of those Azteca ants that live inside nearly every cecropia or guarumo tree. They live together, and when they detect that something is coming to try to eat those leaves at the top, they swarm out and will swarm any insect or animal that dares try. Now, the leaves at the very base of them actually produce a kind of a honey-like nectar, and that's the food that those ants need to survive. The tree also produces a kind of a fruit, a yellow fruit that's very sweet, and the ants will also eat that and help spread the seeds of this tree. And when the ants fall down together because they're on the fruit, that guarantees that a new colony of ants will grow in whatever cecropia tree grows up in its place. So they've been living together like that for literally millions of years. Now, a couple of years ago, many within Unitarian Universalism reimagined how we're going to communicate our shared values to the world around us. And some very, very dedicated, intelligent people came up with one image. And to those of you who might have both pages of our order of service, the people who are at home, the back page of that has something that looks very much like a flower. It's not in your paper that you got today, but it's also, you can find it online and all those good things. We have it actually in our CYRE bulletin board out in the social hall. So after the service, you can see what it looks like. And in the center of this flower is the word love, a central value to Unitarian Universalism. And around that, almost as if written on petals or perhaps leaves around a cecropia tree top, are the words generosity, equity, interdependence, justice, pluralism, and transformation. 6 shared values that we call on all Unitarian Universalists to hold near and dear as we gather together into these spaces and as we live our lives. I also this morning would like to invite you to all be ants. Because, my friends, some of these values sometimes come under attack. There are people who would like to diminish these values, these ideas, take away their power, take away their practice. And I invite us in our daily practice, in our justice seeking, in our interdependence, in our pluralism, in our transformative experience together, in our seeking of equity, and in our expressions of generosity. I invite us to be aware of times when someone comes and knocks on the trunk of our tree of love and wants to diminish those leaves, those values that are growing so preciously up at the top of our tree of life. And I invite you to swarm out over that tree of love and weave a web of protection for all. Let us sing Any Children Up to Children's Chapel with me this morning. All children who are here, come on up to the chapel at the end of the hallway and we'll have a little time together. Let us sing them out with This Little Light of Mine.
I just put my mask on and settled in and realized, uh-oh. So this morning, the covenant lies at the center of how Unitarian Universalists gather in community. We are united not by a particular set of beliefs, but by the promises we make about how we will be together, how we will treat each other, and how we will seek to mend relationships when we fall short of our aspirations. Each week, we recite together a brief version of our covenant. I encourage you to read the full covenant on our website. While the following words express our intentions in writing, our true covenant lives and breathes in our actions. Please join me now in reciting the words that appear in your order of service or in the chat on the live stream. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we will strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, seek humor and joy.
Please join with me in our responsive reading, which is found in the back of your gray hymnals, number 536, The Morning Poem by Mary Oliver. Every morning the world is created. Under the orange sticks of the sun, The heaped ashes of the night turn to leaves again, and fasten themselves to the high branches, and the ponds appear like black cloth on which are painted islands of summer lilies. If it is your nature to be happy, you will swim along long, soft trails for hours, your imagination alighting everywhere. And if your spirit carries within it the thorn that is heavier than lead, if it's all you can do to keep from on trudging, there is still somewhere deep within you a beast shouting that the earth is exactly what it wanted. Each pond with its blazing lilies is a prayer heard and answered lavishly every morning. Whether or not you have ever dared to be happy, whether or not you have ever dared to pray.
Good morning. In thinking about next week's No Kings protest across America, and about the nor'easter about to descend upon us this afternoon, I remembered a meditation from our old Connecticut history, given to me by Reverend Wallace Fisk, who had been my minister emeritus for 26 years, and he had been minister of the congregation in West Hartford for another 25 years. A remarkable ministry and a remarkable man. And he brought this memory to me. I think we often think, one of the great cliches of our time is, oh, we were living in a dark time. I won't dispute that. But there are aspects of our history that tell us a very different tale. They give us sustenance and solace. I'd like to share it with you as we begin our meditation. Alistair Cook, the British broadcaster, tells this story from our Connecticut history. The time was the 19th of May, 1780, in the midst of the Revolution. The place was Hartford, Connecticut. The day has gone down in New England history as a terrible foretaste of Judgment Day. For at noon, the skies turned from blue to gray, and by mid-afternoon had blackened over so densely that in that superstitious age, people fell to their knees and begged a final blessing before the end arrived. The Connecticut House of Representatives was in session. And as some representatives fell down and others clamored for an immediate adjournment, the Speaker of the House, one Colonel Davenport, came to his feet, and he silenced them. And he said these words, "The day of the judgment is either approaching or it is not. And if it is not, there is no cause for adjournment. And if it is, I choose to be found doing my duty. And I wish, therefore, that candles may be brought. Ladies and gentlemen, let the candles be brought." In our common life, in our daily life, in our larger social and civic life, and in our private recesses, whenever we face darkness, let the candles be brought. Let light enter the room. Let us do our duty to each other and for that higher purpose. Let the candles be brought. Amen. It is a tradition here that we pass the plates for the care and sustenance of this community of faith, its larger liberal religious values, and for each other. So, as we begin this offering, prepare to be generous and prepare to be a community. William?
Instructions on Not Giving Up by Ada Limon, who was our two-term poet laureate in the US. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs shoving their cotton candy-colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains, it's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets, leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath, the leaves come, patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us. A return to the strange idea of continuous living, despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say, a new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all. And now we welcome the USNH Choir to sing today's anthem.
On Monday morning, I woke up and opened up the New York Times, and there was an obituary for a literary gadfly from San Francisco named Ashley Brilliant. That's his real name. And I hadn't thought about him because when I was a very young minister, about 26, 27, I would often from the pulpit read little snippets of Ashley Brilliant's work. And he made his living making little postcards. This is all, of course, pre-internet. And he would say, my entire life, all the wisdom I have to give must be given in less than 17 words. And so these little postcards are mailed all over the country, and I found them charming and interesting. I first discovered Ashley Brilliant when I read his proclamation that all I want is a warm bed and a kind word and unlimited power. But after reading about his death at the age of 91, I went back and many things that I had shared from the pulpit in Columbia, Maryland so long ago, when I thought they were just kind of witty and funny and existential, reality is I found them to be deeply poignant and a pretty suitable introduction into a sermon into the life of adversity. He said, "It's not easy taking my problems one at a time when they refuse to get in line. All I ask is a chance to prove that money can't make me happy." Incredible as it seems, my life is based on a true story. By doing just a little every day, I can gradually let the task completely overwhelm me. Life has been very confusing because I have been different ages at different times. I try to take one day at a time, but sometimes several days attack me at once. And lastly, I'm learning about people the hard way by being one. It's really true. Less than 17 words, an epigram. And if you stop and think about it, the spiritual enterprise has been mining epigrams on adversity for millennia. And we know so many of them. We've been given them and we may have shared them. Now, some of them, these little miniatures of wisdom, God only gives us as much trouble as we can handle. Everything happens for a reason. When God closes a door, he opens a window. These things may or may not be true. At any given moment, they may or may not be true. But I have discovered one thing along the way, and that is, oftentimes we share ideas like this, these little epigrams, because we long to fill a silence. And if you take away anything from this sermon today, it is usually when you're sitting with someone and you are sharing their pain, when you're face to face with adversity, sometimes silence together is the holy way to go. And we actually don't have wisdom, but we have each other. We have each other. So how do we share these little bits of advice? Well, James, chapter 1, "Count it all joy, my brethren, when you meet various trials, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." Well, you might say, that advice isn't working for me, until you realize that even within our own tradition of Unitarian Universalism, you have Longfellow saying, "It has done me good, somewhat parched by the heat and drenched by the rain of life. Again, these things may or may not be true. But today, in a pretty short sermon, I want to give you some indicators of things that we might say to one another and share with each other in the face of adversity. And the first is, I want to say to you, a deep sense of relief that as a Unitarian Universalist minister, I have never been tasked with the idea that God somehow sends suffering to ennoble us or to improve us. I haven't had to ever say that, and I don't want to ever say that, because I don't believe it. But I do believe that when we encounter suffering and adversity, and we will, it doesn't make us better, and it doesn't necessarily make us worse. I have seen both, and you likely have too. But I do think that something interesting does happen to us. And it is an old biblical idea called refiner's fire. Have you ever heard of it? You take a lump of gold and you put it into surging heat, and what is dross and what is unessential simply burns away, and what's left is the essence. What's left, I guess, is the gold, but it isn't that it's better or worse. It is what is left. It is what is essential. I guess the Buddhists would call this essence. And I do believe that. I do believe that. Adversity does not make us better. It may make us worse, but the reality is you can guess it is going to change you, and your essence is there. It's who you are. If you came here never being given light and strength and wisdom, that would be a big problem. There is always help to be had. And Lord knows our forebears and the great souls who journeyed before us, and now even alongside of us today, they have faced the same and perhaps worse challenges, obstacles, and heartaches that we face. But we always have to be very delicate and careful, because human beings are fragile. They have an immense strength within us, but when we're speaking to someone in a moment of true adversity, they are fragile. And therefore, we don't dole out bits of wisdom so much as we seek to help through presence and maybe not wisdom. Adversity is not given to you to make you stronger or to somehow build your character. It comes to you because you're a human being. So you and I can save a lot of time not really wondering, why has this happened to me? And simply understand that things happen to people. So we can get on with the work of being human, of being vulnerable, of having these fragile hearts, and being mortal, that kind of stuff. And adversity being so ever-present. I remember one Friday morning in late August, I got 2 phone calls within about a half an hour of each other of fairly devastating diagnoses of people I like and care about in this congregation. There are people all the time struggling, getting bad news, dealing with stuff, having to cope, having to move forward. And we have to reckon with that. We have to reckon with it personally, and we have to reckon with it as a community. And if what you're hearing from the pulpit isn't speaking to you in this kind of truth, then it isn't of any great use to you in times of trouble. Suffering is real, and no easily digested bits of wisdom can ever prepare us or offer us solace or give us the strength to endure to cope. What does help is solidarity, is friendship, is affection. In the midst of adversity, something really interesting happens, and take this away too. Sometimes it's only when life, an illusion is entertained that we're on top of our game, we're in control, everything's good. That can be, ironically and paradoxically, a very isolating thing, because we then assume we can handle everything on our own. What I have to tell you today is what adversity can give us is that we can understand in a very deep way that we are actually one. When adversity comes, and it will, you will discover that it is what actually binds you to every other human being around you. Hardships are just happening all the time. Now, the problem that we have is that they're very unevenly distributed at any given moment. But if we take it as truth, and I think it is true, that adversity is not meant to elevate our character so much as to reveal it, then can we grow from pain? Yes, but that's not the issue. Because adversity is a capricious, uneven mirror, and it is a mirror that shows who and what we are revealed in that refiner's fire. The essence comes out, and if we can share that essence, that essential truth, then we can get somewhere together. We can find out who we are. It's mainly a mirror that shows us inner realities that we never sensed before, never knew before. And more importantly, at least to me, it can show us those weak, broken places within us. It's important to know about them because it means that we absolutely cannot do this alone. We need each other. Adversity blesses us because it invites us to that reality, and sometimes it forces us to that reality. To find that there's more than just one person in that mirror. Adversity doesn't tell us that we shall succeed, but it also doesn't tell us that we're somehow going to fade or crumble. But what it does tell us is that we need each other to respond to any hard knocks that life gives us, and they are coming. Personal travails, yes. Internal challenges, yes. But you personally are not somehow being tested by some cosmic force. Adversity is not a school of character. In the end, it's an invitation for us to find each other. It's also an opportunity to gain a wider and more expansive view of life than simply good fortune or happiness can give you. I think that's true. It gives us a wider horizon, the ability to understand that that horizon actually includes everyone here in this room and everyone you'll ever meet and know. Everyone that you will love, everyone that you will be there for, and everyone that you may occasionally fail. But you are one in those hardships. You are one in this essential sympathy of self-knowledge. One of the rules of counseling is to deal with truth is always the better way. I had an interview long ago with a friend of mine who was in a mess. We agreed as we got up to leave the room after we'd talked for 2 hours that the main thing to hold on to was the truth of his situation, the truth of his life, and what he was gaining from the experience. Not in growth of character so much as revelation of who he was and what strengths he might have. The truth. The truth, no matter how hard, no matter sometimes how unpretty. It was a truth that was going to lead him out. And I believe that. Because there's a real paradox in adversity. It gives us responsibility, and it gives us each other. And that opens up to the last thing I want to say this morning. For some time, Liz had on our refrigerator a quote, it said, from Nelson Mandela. And I didn't believe it. I said, Liz, this just doesn't sound like Mandela. I don't think this is real. But one day, I got on the magic Google machine. I looked it up, and indeed, it came from his 1994 inaugural speech. Out of 20 years of being in prison and wondering if he would ever be free, suddenly he's speaking to the whole world and to his country. And he said this, and take this away. In the midst of adversity, take this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel unsure around you. We were born to make manifest this glory that is within us, and not just in some of us. It is in everyone. So as we let our own light shine, we consciously give other people permission to do the same. And as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Those are words from someone who knew adversity. He knew it up close. He knew it for a long time, decades. And he came out to say there is a light. It is a light we have the responsibility to share with one another, particularly when all seems dark. Amen. Well, we thought, how do you follow that? And we thought, William Blake. So 127, please rise as you are willing and able. Can I see another's woe? The words of William Blake. I invite Laura up to address our flame, and let's share the words in your order of service. Carry forth this chalice flame, its illumination into our daily lives, its sustaining warmth into our relationships, the light of reason shining beyond these walls. May we carry the fire of hope in our hearts this day and in the week to come. And now may peace, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge of love. Go in peace, and bring light into the darkness. Amen.